Okay, 6 o'clock, so we'll call the meeting to order. We've got one change to the agenda that I'm aware of. It's down in policy review C4. We're going to limit that to the title. And if not, the agenda set. So we have a motion to approve it as written. Any further discussion? Seeing none, you see me turn around. Okay, all those in favor of approving the agenda as it's written with that one exception, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed and abstained? Okay. And with the public comment, I'll state it the same way I do every meeting. This is the public's chance to speak. You'll be limited to 2 minutes, and after you do your speaking, I'm not be recognized by this board to speak up. So, any public comment?
Sure.
I don't need one that. So I get 2 minutes per agenda item, right? I got 4 agenda items I want to weigh in on here tonight. Maybe make it 3. I've spoken at public comment a bunch, and as most of you know, I'm not hesitant to express my opinions about the district and employees of the district, and you know, you might see me as someone who freely gives critical feedback. In the spirit of that, I also want to take the opportunity to give support to individuals who I think are very much deserving of it. I see on the agenda, I believe that you are considering our current SPED administrator for a different position, Jeremy Skinnell. I've worked with Jeremy for 17 years. There are few people in the building I've had more disagreements with than Jeremy. And yet all of those are resolved in a professional manner. He is a consummate professional. He's highly intelligent, and he puts kids' interests first in everything we do. And you couldn't hope to have a more professional person for this position. I just wanted to put that piece of feedback in because I've given Jeremy a lot of other critical feedback as well. So I felt he deserved this. I also see that on the agenda, you have the extension of renewal of principal contracts. And so I wanted to give feedback on that. I'm a teacher at Lemoyne High School. And I have to say that both our assistant principal and our principal are outstanding professionals. Everyone in that building will agree that nobody works harder than both Ashley Creighton and Bethany Imperial, what they do. And I think if I have any challenges with them, is that they are thoughtful and deliberate. And when people ask for things or give feedback, they take the time to consider everything everyone says. When you're impatient like me, that's sometimes challenging. And I'm not saying I don't disagree with both of them. In fact, Beth and I are engaged in a disagreement right now. And we are working it out because she is also a consummate professional, and she always puts the interest of students first in everything she does. And it is reflected in the way the climate of this building has changed in her tenure here. And I wouldn't, there's no principal I would wish more to work for or to have lead students in this building. And I've said several times tonight that put students first, and when speaking of administrators, and there's a reason for that. It's because our district leadership for a long time has been Superintendent Kat Gallagher, who, as you might also know, I've disagreed with a lot over the years. But we've always found the common ground of putting kids' interests first in everything we do. And I think particularly, you know, to be a superintendent in these current times with education, with the cultural changes, the technology changes, the political changes, is extremely difficult waters to navigate. And I just think she's done an outstanding job listening to people and putting, as hard it can be sometimes, putting kids first every single time. And that we center that in our district up and down, I think is why we are at where we're at and why we keep improving and we're moving in the right direction. And with that said, the last item on the agenda that I would like to comment on is the legislative update. I've been following this situation very closely. I lobbied people to vote against H54 as it passed out. And I think there's a real responsibility for board members who do a fantastic job managing budgets and being connected with what our each and every one of our schools do and can't do and need help doing, that there's an iteration, that bill as it passed out of the House is unlikely to pass the Senate. Something different will come out of there, and then something different will happen on the reconciliation, and then something will different when it gets to will happen when it gets to the governor's desk. But there's a real danger that rural public schools are going to get shortchanged in this conversation. If you're worried about property taxes, the only part of that bill that's going to affect that is the foundation formula. And if you're worried about closing rural schools, as we all should be, then all of the consolidation and governance changes are aimed at small rural schools. And I just sat in on the curriculum committee meeting where they went over our student data, and they talked about test scores, and they also talked about the Up for Learning data, where it surveyed kids on how they feel about their school and connectedness. And that's data that's not in the Pica-Soden report. That's data that the legislature is not seeing about how these kids feel cared for and feel safe. They feel a part of a community. They have friends here. They have teachers that they know support them. And that's just invaluable for a learning environment. And I think you folks as board members, you do a fantastic job with budgets and with policy making. But part of the duty of upholding this district's mission is making sure the legislature is well aware of the impacts the laws they're going to have on our district. And I would strongly suggest that you reach out to your legislatures and let them know that the way that the bill that comes out of the Senate is going to, or is being considered, is going to impact our schools, because they're great schools and they deserve to survive, and our kids deserve not to be on buses for hours at a time, especially at a younger age, any age. Anyway, thank you for your time. Thanks, Mark.
Sure.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Robin Bryce. I am the school librarian at Hyde Park, and I've been serving libraries in our district since 2001. One of my major issues has been trying to get a selection and reconsideration policy. I'm here tonight to answer questions. We have one that is ready, and it's by the VPA approved. It's ready to go before all of you. And our understanding, our librarian sisterhood understanding, is that we are the designees to continue the additional parameters surrounding selection, reconsideration, and that. So we're just looking for the overarching policy, the big P, and we're very excited that one is before us tonight. It's going to protect us, and this is going to reduce the amount of challenges, as well as give specific structure to any future challenges. And in today's political landscape, this paper is going to back up your schools and your collections and your librarians. And we will then handle the rest for you. So thank you for your time and consideration of this. And if any of you have questions during the deliberation process, I'm here. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Comments opposed, on we go. Routine business, minutes of the March 10th board meeting, the curriculum committee meeting, social emotional wellness committee, personnel committee meeting, this 20th. The two of the minutes approved, we want to approve them at the same time.
So moved.
Any questions? Seeing and hearing none, all those approving these minutes, say aye.
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 Opposed or abstained? Okay. Board orders.
Okay, so I reviewed the board orders that are on the back of the page of the minutes for February 7th, 21st, and March 7th. And everything looked in order, and I'm looking for a motion to
Stephanie, can you speak up just a little bit?
Yeah, I reviewed the board orders for February 7th, 21st, and March 7th. Everything looked in order, and I'd like to have a motion to pass the board orders.
Motion? So moved. Any further questions, comments? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approving the board orders, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Okay. Legislative updates.
Okay. So I think you all have seen probably many alerts from the VSBA and updates from CAT. Obviously, there was major piece of legislation that was approved on Friday on a vote of 87 to 55. That is H 454. I'm not going to go into great detail on it because I think there's a lot of work still to be hashed out. We know it goes to the Senate this week. And it could look very different than it does today. I will say, like, I think many believe that Governor Scott and his faction is looking for infighting to then go back to their original proposal and push that further and make that remark. Again, it's an imperfect bill, and there's a lot that should change here very shortly. So I would just encourage you to continue to monitor, talk to your legislator, advocate for our schools, as I know many of you, if not all of you, do.
I think it's under Vermont schools.
Yeah, Vermont schools.
You're on, as soon as we get it set up here.
Sure.
There you are.
Okay. Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. That's the main thing, I think. My name is Margaret MacLean. I am a Peacham resident and a volunteer steering committee member for the Rural School and Community Alliance. The Rural School Community Alliance began in January. A group of 5 school boards voted to create the alliance and contacted school board members throughout the state of schools with enrollment below 200, except for K-12 schools, which were below 300. We also included those. We began with 5 in January, and as of this week, we have 92 voting entities who have, as boards or groups, voted to join the alliance. They are comprised of 80 towns. They stretch from the north to the Canadian border to the Massachusetts border, from east to the islands, east to west. Those 80 towns either voted because they were town school boards like Cambridge, or they voted as a merged board like Lamoille North Elementary group of towns. I believe you're Eden, Belvedere, Waterville, Johnson, and Hyde Park. So they voted in groups or they voted individually, depending on the kind of school board they were on. But there are 80 towns who are now members. Additionally, there are 8 select boards and 4 other groups, 2 parent-teacher groups and 2 early childhood groups who have voted to join. The Rural School Community Alliance was formed to be a rural voice in the State House. As speakers have said already tonight, there's a lot of going on with this legislation. And really, our purpose is to make sure the voices of rural communities are heard in testimony at the State House, our perspective. So how do we do that? Well, what we do is if you vote to join, you have 1 or more representatives in a specific Google group for the Alliance where we talk about our different perspectives on certain issues that are being brought up, and we make responses which you can decide to agree with in terms of representing you. We have testified in the House twice, and last week we testified in the Senate, and this the Senate asked us to return this week with an alternative proposal in terms of, as an alliance, what would we do to deal with the issue of quality education at a cost that hardworking Vermonters can afford. So we have a response that's being developed for that. We have a core group of steering committee members, and then we also have members who have opinions and experience, and at different points we call on those members. We have had a group of superintendents from Alliance schools who work with us on a regular basis by Zoom. And in both times we've testified with superintendents who present the rural perspective as we see it. It may be different from what the VSBA as a whole sees it. And many of our steering committee and folks who've testified are school board chairs or longstanding school board members who are able to give testimony on the specific topics. And we've been doing that in conjunction with superintendents. There may be a time when we also do that in conjunction with teachers, in conjunction with community members. It depends on what the testimony that they're looking for needs to give a rural perspective to. So we've had rapid growth, and because of the stage we're at in terms of this legislation, this month, the month of April, is basically, we won't be recruiting places beyond April. We have this group of 92, and we think other folks will be joining in April, and it'll possibly go over 100. Later tonight at 7, I'm talking with the Caledonia Cooperative Merge Group about their membership. So people are interested in joining this organization because they want to be sure that the rural perspective is heard. I'm happy to answer any questions. There's no cost to join. We are fundraising to pay for a lobbyist, but we're not, there's no dues, there's nothing like that. There's no obligation financially. Although there's a donate button, and there's a website, and there's an opportunity for individuals or boards to make donations, but there's no requirement to. We've succeeded so far, and we're almost at half of what we need already to pay this lobbyist, who has been invaluable in terms of getting our perspective taken seriously, and being invited into committees like we're invited last week into Senate Education, and we've been asked to go back this week. Several committee members, and that committee is interesting because it's a 3-3 split, 3 Republicans and 3 Democrats, and everyone on that committee was appreciative and happy, regardless of their political stripe. And they said that our testimony last week was the best financial analysis and other response to this question that we're grappling with as a state. It was better than anything they'd received so far since January. So we're very proud that the quality of what we're doing as volunteers is being recognized. And we've worked all weekend, and we're continuing to work to prepare for this Friday or Thursday, we're not sure which day, where we go back. So on that Google group, you get regular communications of what's going on. It's not necessarily a lot of work. It's mostly a communications tool. And you have the ability to give us input on things so that as we together fashion our response, or to step up and help if you want to do more than, different people have different capacity to volunteer. And some folks are just receiving information and not necessarily doing a lot with it, and others are very involved. Anything we send out, if you're a representative, if you want to share it with your board, you can. If you want to share it wider with your community, you can. There may be occasions when there's a press release or something specific that you'd want to put on Front Porch Forum or something like that. And there's certainly ways to communicate with legislators. And we help in terms of the message we want to send being consistent to those groups. So the Alliance has so far been very successful, and we hope that as a group of communities, you'd be interested in joining us, because that's the purpose of the Alliance, to represent communities like yours that have community schools and want to help those community schools flourish and make a difference. And as the earlier speaker said, you are a board that is local, that knows your communities or community and knows, makes decisions in the best interest of children, because they're often your children. You have skin in the game around these decisions. And to have your board eliminated or boards eliminated, and to have a regional board for 4,000 students that has representation based on wards, totally changes education in Vermont. And we need to have a voice in influencing that. So thank you for hearing me out, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
So I'll make a comment and maybe ask a question. But I've been monitoring the activities of this the Alliance for a fair amount of time now, and I'm speaking to you. I know I sit on the VSBA, but I'm speaking to you as a local board representative here right now. They've done some fabulous work analyzing financial data, and in their platform documents, I think it has some pretty compelling evidence that shows that further consolidation, it's tough to show that those actually yield any savings, which I think is the premise for a lot of this. But I have a question for you, Margaret. I guess, do you see any ways that maybe some of the priorities of the Alliance could be folded into H454 as it goes to the Senate?
Yes, we were specifically asked last week in the Senate Education, to present an alternative proposal. And we are going back this week with an alternative proposal, and also an analysis of H454 with the issues in 454, which we see are counterproductive to creating thriving schools and communities.
I'll just say that I also have been following the activity of the Alliance and watched the testimony, and it was very compelling and very impressive. From just my sort of outsider point of view, it doesn't look like there would be any reason why we wouldn't want to join the Alliance, but I guess I'd put it out there to Kat or Mark. Do you see any reasons why we wouldn't want to be part of this group?
I think from my perspective, this is more of an informational session that we're listening to and asking about right now. And I wouldn't even begin to ask the board for a vote publicly like this right now. I want a little bit of a discussion amongst the board members and go from there. So I don't disagree with you. I'm just probably not going to say that we all favor.
I'm going to go out on a limb, if I may speak a little bit. I mean, I think I personally would be comfortable advocating the board to sign on to this alliance. I mean, things are happening now, and I think there's strength in numbers, and the alliance could give us a greater voice, and having access to some of their communication tools in the forums could be a valuable tool in the coming weeks, right? Like, I don't know that I would want to push this another month personally.
What's everybody's thoughts?
Do you see any reason that you would not want to have this?
What I would say is that I want to be a part of anything that moves education transformation forward in a way that is best for our kids. And so I'm not going to be more specific than that. I think that much of what I hear about the Alliance is very much in line with our thinking. We treasure our small schools. I don't know that our small schools are similar to other small schools. But I like what I hear. I don't know that there's a downside. I just would say I would advocate and ask the board to advocate for anything that is going to thoughtfully, without engaging in things that are disruptive, which will take the attention off of our children, to move forward in a thoughtful fashion if that's the board's will.
I guess I'll ask the question, is this board prepared at this point to go forward with this and join this alliance?
I think to move on something, you have to have it. Am I wrong on that? It might mean a special meeting.
Special.
I have one other piece of information that might be helpful. We have 12 superintendents in the Alliance who are, their communities have joined the Alliance, and we meet with them regularly. John Castle convenes the meetings. He is the director of the Vermont Rural Education Collaborative. He was a superintendent himself at North Country. He convenes those meetings, and we hear questions and concerns from superintendents. So we're happy to have superintendents join the group, as well as one or more board representatives to join the group. There are already 12 superintendents who are part of it. And it's from that superintendent group that people have testified. So it's a way to have our superintendents testify on a particular topic if they have useful resources and information about that topic. And that's an opportunity they want. Obviously, it's not required, but if they wanted to speak on a specific issue and had experience with it, we could help facilitate that. So we very much want to work collaboratively with our communities, and superintendents their job is to work with communities and do that, work with boards and do that well. And so we see them as integral to our efforts.
I guess here's the question I'll ask everybody. Is Wednesday a night that you'd be available for a virtual meeting that we could announce? We could have this one item on the agenda to either up or down. Will you work with that? Okay. So 6 o'clock? Yeah. So does that work for everybody? 6 o'clock Wednesday night? This will be the only agenda item on it. See a bunch of heads nodding yes. That's what we'll be running a special meeting for Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. Well, this will be our one agenda item, so it shouldn't take a long time. And then we'll go from there. Okay.
Margaret, thank you so much for presenting to us tonight.
Well, I appreciate your time. I know you're busy. You've probably got a long list on that agenda. So thank you so much. And if you would like me to send any documentation or any things, I can send it before Wednesday. I have a number of things, like our testimony. If you want to see examples of the testimony we've given, I could send that. I just would need to know, I've been talking with Michelle from the office, and I'd need to know who I should send it to, but I'm happy to give you further, anything you want as you consider this question. Thank you.
Margaret, I think you can continue to send that to Michelle because then she disseminates it.
Okay, all right, I'll send some documents to Michelle. Thank you so much, and thanks for your time and for considering this on Wednesday. I appreciate it. Take care, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, this next one is a bit fuzzy, but I'll do the best I can with it. We have a resident of Johnson who would like to be on the school board. And the select board in Johnson has to recommend that individual to me by the school board. So they have to approve that individual and move it forward. Is that right?
They have to, they don't get to approve or disapprove.
They just
Disapprove, they
recommend.
recommend, yes.
So they recommend a person. So
I actually have, we've done this a few times in Cambridge, right? And we've taken input from the select board. I don't think we've ever had to have them forward to us. The names actually go to you and they also see them.
They provide input.
Yeah, they provide input, so I believe you shouldn't have to wait for that.
okay. Well, then what we'll do then is Carrie, well, I'll destroy her last name. Carrie Ferrari would be the candidate from Johnson. She was on our ballot back a while ago, and that was an interesting ballot, but that's beside the point. So she would be our only candidate for Johnson for the 5th seat. So we have a motion.
Is this an additional person
besides the
usual number or?
The open seat.
This is the open seat. Yep. So we have a motion to approve Carrie Ferrari as the vacant Johnson seat.
So moved.
Second.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approving Carrie for the last Johnson seat, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstain. Okay. We have any more? Year 26, CFP application.
So this is, it's not actually the CFP application, it's the sub-grant agreement. Every year we go through this. LNSU receives the federal grants as an entity and then sub-grants to the Modified Unified in Cambridge. This is the Modified Unified sub-grant. So I'm looking for a motion to authorize Mark to sign the sub-grant agreement with LNSU.
So moved.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approving this, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed or abstained? Okay. Municipal contract meetings.
So we have 3 principals up for renewal this year: Beth Ann Peary, Jan Epstein, and Diane Riley. And I am going to recommend 3-year renewals for all of them. They are going to speak to their goals very generically, but I do want to ask the 3 of you, do you feel a need to go into executive session? It is up to you. If not, we can just move forward as is. No? Okay, so that is, I'm asking for a motion, but I thought that we could have some discussion and Beth Ann and Jan and Diane can share where they are in their goals. They are on track to meet them in full by the end of June, so we're doing this a little bit early because we have to. And their goals are centered around the school improvement plans and the standards for leadership. So they have chosen between 2 and 3 goals each. Beth Ann, would you like to speak to yours?
Yeah, my goals are really long, so I'll try to be concise. The first one that I focused on, and I'd say is probably the one we've made the most movement on, is my goal around our multi-tiered systems of support at the high school. People often now refer to it as, instead of tiered support, it's layered support for our students. And some pieces that we got in place right away this year, we identified a time during the school day that's a flexible time, so that school counselors, administrators, everyone that's on like our student support team is available and has it carved out. So that we can hold problem solving team meetings, as well as like educational support team meetings for students. And it's a time that teachers can close their office hours and be present as well. So that was like a big move in the right direction. And then also really aligning all of our documentation. So that was like one of my big things this year. We're all using the same forms now. So no matter what student we're meeting with, we're collecting information on the same forms, holding those in the same place, so that I can oversee them and make sure they're running well. Next steps for that goal specifically, I would say, is really continuing professional development around the tiers, and continuing to work on tier 1, which is like the general education classroom and best practices for instruction and developing relationships with kids. And because that is where, we just really need to build things up. And the other, so professional development around that, I'm trying to think if there's anything else.
PBGR.
Oh, yeah, that's goal 3. So goal 2, this year, I really wanted to focus on the adult brain and body in our school, because we have such a huge impact on our students. And my idea was to bring some professional development with the support of the Restorative Center into the school. And this is the one that we've had to do a little bit of backfilling, I would say, before moving forward, because of some of the initiatives that we've taken on this year, with Infinite Campus being brand new to teachers, getting their classrooms up and running and making sure that's successful. And then Teach Point, which is a new supervision and evaluation tool. And so we've really focused there, and my energy has gone into doing really thoughtful rounds of evaluation with our first year teachers, our second year teachers, our special educators, and then some veterans that were up for their renewal, and giving them really thoughtful feedback. And to me, that was a support that we needed to focus on first. And hopefully the second, we're now in the last quarter of the year, we'll continue to just work on best practices with like adult regulation. And then Kat mentioned the proficiency-based learning. That was my third goal, and that one probably excites me the most because of the growth we're making. We're working, Chris and I, we're working 7 through 12, and it is like, I miss the classroom a lot. And so this is the work that I truly enjoy. And we have taken our K through 12 map of standards, and we have looked at our grade levels, at our courses, at like what we're teaching our kids. And we are getting to a place where we are starting to talk about teaching practices, backwards design models, and AUD charts, and like so that our students and our families know what is expected of them. And this work is going to continue. Like, we're not done. We're going to continue for the rest of this year, into next year, and really looking at our graduation standards and what we feel as a school is important for every kid that walks across the stage. That is kind of where we're going next. So it's exciting. Those are my 3.
Thank you for that, Beth Ann. And as people may have read, proficiency-based learning is changing rapidly. And I think that the desire is to have a statewide standard for what our children need when they graduate from high school. So
And
this will change again.
Oftentimes people get caught up on the grading side of it, like proficiency-based grading, and then the conversation just gets stuck on like how that happens. And we are really, really trying to focus on learning, and making sure that our students are showing there's growth, they're learning, and that is what.
And before we move on to Jan and then Diane, I just want to say that our evaluation forms for administrators very much mirror what we ask our children to do. So there's a self-assessment. It's where do you want to grow? What are the standards to which you are holding yourself accountable? And then reflections, mid-year and end of year. So it's really quite a thorough process. Thank you for that. And outstanding job. Jan.
Let's see. The first goal that I thought would be really important this year was diving into the K-3 group is being required to create different types of things. Our scores a little bit. And I wanted to learn that kind of inside and out, just full understanding what it looked like for the teachers and the students. And get to know our new curriculum director, Kim, a little more. So I joined the curriculum committee, and just tonight we were looking at some of the new assessment data maps. It's also that we're all learning and taking a dive into that. So I've been joining the curriculum Kim and I have been working with the new reading program. It's called our Reading Company. And we've had a regional national trainer come and work with our teachers, and I participated with them twice. And I first component of it, which is sort of a diagnostic test, and I worked to help my teachers test the kids so I can have an understanding of what was going to be asked of students and what that data would start to look like. And it's a pretty thorough process. And now we're thinking about how to streamline our assessments to make sure what our kids are learning. So it's a really dynamic process and it's changing, and I felt like this would be a good avenue to make sure that I stay on top of those. My second goal was similar to what Edna was talking about, using Teachpoint, which is sort of a new platform to be able to go into teachers' classrooms and give them some very specific feedback on what I'm seeing in the classroom, especially for the teachers. And I've been able to do that. We have teachers this year, and it's really great tool to stay consistent and get consistent feedback throughout the year. So I'm able to do that. And after lunch, which I love. I also miss. And then we also received a new platform, I remember earlier this year, called S'mores. It's an online platform to recognize newsletters. And, before I was just trying to cobble it together, it was boring, and this allows us to put in pictures and videos and flyers from the community, and also put in my, blurb about what's going on in the community. And it's just a much more dynamic way to get out information about what's happening in our school community. And I think it's a snapshot, it's some pictures, it's something that's really engaging, and we've really enjoyed actually using it. It's very easy, so that.
Thank you, Jan. And also, you're hearing from veteran principals. You seem like a veteran principal. Yeah, but old soul. So thank you again for your contributions and for running such a wonderful small school. Riley.
Okay, so I had 3 goals as everyone else, and my first goal was around academic achievement. And I, like everybody else, we are focusing on explicit universal first instruction for all of our students. And then what I noticed is that my building is we have our interventionists and our student support, and we have our special educators. And what we started this year is we have PLCs, which are grade level groups get together, but we didn't have a time to have cross conversations and really looking at kids as a different groups. So we started weekly and biweekly meetings with interventionists, meeting with our special educators meeting with our classroom teachers. Having that very intimate conversations helped us with the tier 1 instruction, the basic instruction. And then we looked at our tier 2, which is our kids that need interventions, and our special educators. And with the MTSS system, we've been able to take our best teachers. For instance, I have a teacher that's just brilliant in math, and she's taken on some of our kids that maybe have an IEP with the highest need, but she's the person in the building that can do the instruction. So we're looking more closely as a team at all of our kids, not just, in certain pods or tracking them. So that has been a lot of different cross-grade level meetings, faculty meetings, and support staff. Support staff is in one meeting a month, but I've offered them to come every single staff meeting so that they know constantly what's going on, so that they're hands-on. So the academic achievement is important, and we're strengthening it one way through communication and collaboration. My second goal is pretty, very just mechanical. It was Infinite Campus. This was a big step for us, and I can't tell you, Michelle's not here, it's amazing. So we have been able to take all our behavior data, every time I contact a parent, I can put right in there, parent contact. And so I have everything listed, every parent contact I made. So if anybody ever says, oh, did you call them? I'm like, yes. And teachers has their reporting system, their attendance system, and it's all connected. So we're not looking at different areas, and everybody seems to have their own niche of things that they're working on, but it's all connected in multiple ways, which has made a huge difference. And my staff is getting pretty good. They really are growing, and now they're asking for more access to different things as they're able to find them in Infinite Campus. It's infinite. We only can do we're doing one step at a time, but I'm really excited. It's really changed how we work in our building. Our third one is Safe and Healthy Schools. This is our PBIS system. We currently do a house system, which is our PBIS system. And that's positive behavior intervention supports, which is a requirement by the state. And through this system, we do our SEL, social emotional learning. We meet with our students, we have cross grade level collaboration with all of our students, so that our littles are learning about our bigs and they're helping each other. We have mentoring programs through that. We have currently 3 different mentoring programs. One is our student base, where our older kids are working with the littles. We have our high school kids that are coming in and working with some of our 5, 6, or mostly 6th grade, 5th and 6th grade. As they move up, they're going to have relationships with kids in the middle and high school. And then we have a group of community members that are in the building. I think currently we have 12 or 13 community members that are mentoring. But there's a thread that goes through everything, and it's our PBIS system, our house system. We incentivize our academics. We have been setting goals with our kids before the testing. They all know what their scores were last time. They saw what they needed to work on at the end of the last test season. They worked on their goals. And then before they tested, we talked to them, what was your goal? How do you think you did? Let's look at how you, and then they said, go in, and they're all excited to take tests. Let me tell you, there's parades. They love going in. And then when they get done, the older kids actually rate. Oh, I'm +8. Oh, I'm -2. They put it on the board and for everybody to see. And if someone has, oh, you have a -8. Yeah, I really didn't work hard enough on this. So it's, but again, it's a thread that runs through everything. And it's like I said, it's our incentive system. It's our PBIS system. It's our communication, and it's our families. We have so much more family involvement this year, but that was one of my things, is family engagement, because we have to get our families back into our schools. Anecdotally, I won't be talking at the end tonight, right? We're not going to do reports. So we had a bingo at school for families and community last Friday night. And it was a ton of work, and we had 153 people there. And the prizes were like grab bags of maple syrup or whatever. Everybody got mostly one card and had concessions. And what do kids do on a Friday night in Hyde Park, right? So everybody had a really good time, and they raised $2,100 for a Lowell Area Cancer Day. So that is, like I said, there's a thread that runs through it, from the academics to how we work as a school and how we connect to our community. So I love my job. So thank you very much for that 3 years.
Well, and thank you.
Well, you haven't voted yet, so.
For your work. So, a motion on the floor.
I'll make a motion that we offer very to and Riley.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approving 3-year contracts, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Those who abstained? Okay. Yours.
Yes. So we have been searching high and low for directors of student support services. And we had 2 people that were interviewed. Either of those people moved to the final rounds. And we started to think creatively. I worked with Jen, we worked with our central office team, with our principals, with our teachers, to look for the talent that we have with us. And it became very evident, and I'm not sure why I didn't think of this before, that we have 2 people very well positioned to take on this role. Jeremy Scannell as director, he would primarily work 6 through 12 in much the same way that he does now, but he really is the overarching head of this. And then an assistant director in Carrie Bullard, who would work pre-K 5. Both have their special education director endorsements. Both know our families, both candidates know our families. And what I'd like to do is hire them both for next year in interim positions. And this is partly to see if they are comfortable in these roles, because they've both been in very established roles in our system, and just to give it a chance to make it work. I am always of the belief that if you have people within that you trust and who are properly endorsed, that is a great way to go. These are people who know our children well. So I'm asking for a motion to approve Jeremy as the Director of Student Support Services and Carrie Bullard as the Assistant Director of Student Support Services, both focusing on different things.
So moved.
Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of approving this motion, say aye.
Aye.
Those who abstain? Okay. Did you hear the third voice?
Congratulations.
IT facilities, that's all I can find.
So I just want to say something really quickly about this, and then Dylan and Cole can take over. These are investments, and I handed out to the board the physical memos. Yesterday, we emailed the memos. These are investments that we were budgeted and we kind of wanted to do, but we wanted to hold off on just to make sure we're coming to the end of the year and had the funding. So we did the projections and the funding is there. So we want to move forward with these. We need approval this month because it needs to be done. These need to be committed and done by June 30th. After this meeting, those investments that are approved will get PO'd. We will look at the projection one more time because these are all taken at one time. It feels like a lot of money. But these funds are in the general fund and in the budget right now. We'll look at the projection one more time and then move forward. You guys can take it away.
So I would invite a motion from the board to enter executive session pursuant to 1 VSA Section 313, as the forthcoming discussion may involve matters that could compromise security or emergency response protocols, and disclosure of such information could endanger public safety.
Make that motion.
Be school administrators and board. Yeah.
Second.
All those in favor of going into executive session, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Because I'm multitasking, just need a second. David, because you're calling in, you'll need to dial *2 on your phone. Just wait like 10 seconds.
What's the number?
You'll dial *2.
Stay connected.
Stay connected, just dial *2, but give me like 2 seconds.
Thank you. Did it go on?
Hang on 1 second, David.
Yep.
All right, David, you can do it and count down from 5, and then you can do it. You want me to read this? So at this time, the administration is recommending that the board award the bid to Strategics for a 5-year contract, their crisis alert and visitor management system. The total support and maintenance contract, the value of $346,780, which we paid as follows: $117,180 as the initial investment from the FY25 budget, and then $57,400 per fiscal year starting in FY26 through FY29.
So moved as stated.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor of approving this, say aye.
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 Those are abstained? Okay.
Yep, I think the rest of mine. So, the next two, Eric and I were going to do together. Eric's not feeling well. These are both replacement pieces of equipment. So they're actually, one is 2 years past the replacement cycle. One is right on the replacement cycle. So, we're going to start with the GMTCC forestry truck. We advertised this and put it out to bid. We also reached out to all our local dealerships. This is to replace the current 2012 Ford F-350 with plow that is at the forestry campus. It is no longer inspected, so we actually went to get it inspected and it got X'd, so it's got to come out of our fleet anyway. So we received 3 bids. The Moyle Valley Ford actually offered an F-550 holdover that was a 2023 at a bigger discount than any of those trucks, other trucks. So we're asking, the administration is asking the board to accept a bid of $68,504 from the Moyle Valley Ford for an F-550 plow. And this is out of the general fund, so this is not any capital reserve or anything else that we budgeted for.
Motion?
Second.
Further discussion?
That's what I'm doing.
You guys want to know? Second bid is for a GMTCC program van. This is
First,
no, we voted on first, didn't we? No, we didn't vote on. Oh, these guys just said they wanted to bid on it. Sorry.
all those in favor of approving the forestry truck replacement, say aye.
Aye.
Abstained?
Keep going. Second bid is a GMTCC program van. This is also a replacement. Current van is a 2010 Dodge Caravan. It did get inspected in March, and we were informed it was the last year that it would get inspected. So they are moving forward with an all-wheel drive Toyota Sienna. So at this point, the administration is recommending we move forward with a bid of $46,430.50 from 802 Toyota for the Toyota.
Motion.
And with all these vehicle bids, they're all over the place. You're going to see there's a lot of one bids or more. Part of the reason why we're having issues is, one, we require them to hold the bid for 90 days. And 2, we have to take delivery before June 30th. So a lot of these guys, everybody's kind of watching the market and what's going on. So either a lot of people are like, I don't want to bid because we're not going to guarantee a price for 90 days, or we can't get it. So that's why you're going to see that they're kind of everywhere.
So
Is this a new van?
That is a new van. Yeah. Yeah, should be. And so our replacement cycle on our fleet vehicles is 10 years. So we replace them every 10 years. Oh my God, sorry guys.
all those in favor of approving the program van, say aye.
Aye.
Abstained? Okay.
This is a little bigger one. So I think we've been talking about air conditioning in our building for the last couple of years. We've tried a few different options at different sites. This is a VRV system for B-Wing, so this is high school. The B-Wing typically is south facing and is one of the hottest portions of this campus. We do have a pretty robust summer school. So in the summer, we typically are moving students down to the gym, which is air conditioned, instead of those rooms that can be 95 degrees plus. So VRV is a heat pump system. So this is a mini split. I don't know if people are super familiar with that technology. It is tied into our building management system. So it kind of acts with our heating system. And it's individual actual air conditioning for every room. So it's 15 rooms in total. Control Tech was the only bidder. I had a few other companies that were somewhat interested, but because we require that it hooks into our Distech system, which is proprietary by CPI, it was pretty hard to get other bids for this. So at this point, the administration is recommending the board accept the bid of $187,500 from Control Tech Inc. For the viewing ERP system.
So moved.
Further discussion?
This also being funded by general.
These are all general fund.
Any questions, comments? Okay, hearing and seeing none, all those in favor of the HVAC system for high school, say aye. Say aye.
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 Okay,
This is another thing that you guys have heard about a lot over the last 4 years, I think. This is replacing the school sign. So you first come into the parking lot, you guys see the big old brick sign that was, I think it's 2001 is when that, I know it was 2001 when that was installed. To be removing that original sign and putting in a big old digital display. So I don't know if anybody like MMU, there's a lot of schools kind of in the Chittenden County area. It's 4 feet by 8 feet long and it'll do pictures, whatever you want. The reason why we like it is we're putting sandwich boards out there and we actually get the DOT who gives me nasty gram saying we need to move them out of the town right away and all kinds of other things.
And I get a lot of emails about it.
Yes, and this would also give us a great way to reach out to the public. Theater this weekend, come see whatever play is going on, basketball game Thursday night, come vote on the budget meetings. It could be, race day. There's a million things that can go across there between GMTC, middle school, high school, and district-wide. I mean, we could even use this for Big Bottle Drive at Hyde Park Elementary, go to Hyde Park on Saturday. I mean, it is got an infinite amount of capabilities and things that it could be used for. It's great advertising. We've already got the permits in place if we decide to move forward, which I thought was going to be more difficult. That's why I started a long time ago. So so again, Distech is who does all our scoreboards and everything else. That's who we kind of spec. Their spec, not the name brand. There's only one Distech dealer in Vermont. It's Vermont Display. It's a great Vermont company. So the administration is recommending the board accept the bid of $53,700 from Vermont Display for this project.
Moved.
further discussion?
So I have a question. Who's going to manage?
Rainy Depot. So we have already, because we knew that was.
Someone's done that.
Yeah, and we haven't figured out backup who's going to be the secondary. I mean, for the most part, I don't think that'd be very often vacations and things like that. But we have the primary person because he was really interested in this because he's the one putting sandwiches boards down there, quite often, or going and putting up flyers around the district,
Or taking them down.
or taking them down.
Our teenage drivers.
He actually helped spec this. So when we were, we came to you guys exactly a year ago with this exact same board, and then we didn't have the board to ESSER funds.
Right.
Remember?
Yes, I wouldn't approve it.
So this is actually the third time you've seen this bid for the exact same thing, and the other 2 times we ended up not having them. Anyways, there was a couple of reasons why we didn't move forward. Let's look at the pictures.
Okay, hearing no further discussion. All those in favor of the campus digital display, say aye.
Aye.
Those who abstain?
And also for those new board members, this is that time of year where you see me asking for a lot of money. So I apologize.
The furniture you're not.
Yes, so the next bid was the furniture bid. That was one that really fell prey to the 90-day part. Nobody really wanted to, and the only way they would guarantee a 90-day bid was putting these astronomical numbers. So we had kind of a set amount of money that we could spend on furniture, and every bid came in at almost 3 times what that was, which was ridiculous because when we first bid it out, it was at the set. So anyway, we decided not to move forward with any of those bids. We're going to go back to the drawing board on that. So district IT van / mobile workstation. This is a new fleet vehicle. I'm going to let Cole speak to it a little bit about the need, but we've got some pretty good competitive bids for that. And I think it's a pretty great idea, but you talked to the mobile workstation.
Yeah, so since I came on, we started centralizing a lot of our support. We have a lot more people housed up here on the campus. And we've started reaching out to other schools as we need to. And this will allow our techs to actually go to sites, have supplies in the van, and actually a place to repair devices. I've gotten all of my team members certified as Dell repair technicians, so we don't actually have to send devices away anymore. So we can load this van up with all of our parts and they can go out to sites and repair it. Another thing we've been trying to do is cut back on how much we're contracting out to other vendors. So we've been doing a lot of wiring jobs internally, which has saved us significantly. So this is another general fund item, utilizing some savings that we've made significantly by centralizing purchasing for the district. I think this will assist us in providing support and not having to drive to a site, take device back and mail it out. We can just go there and fix it right on site or do projects.
Cole and his crew are the ones who wired central office. So instead of us having to sub that out, the IT department did it, which is typically not out in their realm just because it's pretty complicated, but you've got the right training. And it was almost a 70% savings kind of from what I figured what a normal drop cost is to run. So there's definitely a lot of savings. So anyways, the administration is recommending the board accept the bid of $51,690 from St. Johnsbury Ram. And that's a Ram high top utility.
So moved.
Second.
Do they have it in stock?
They do, yes. Yeah.
No further discussion? Not? All those in favor of approving an IT van, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Those abstaining? No.
And the last one, we're almost done. I'll talk fast. So this is the plow truck. I'm sure most of you guys have seen the big blue 5500 with the Salter and the big V plow on this campus. This is the replacement for that truck. That truck is 10 years old this year. So we solicited bids from local dealers and we advertised as well. We ended up with 2 bids. The best bid was from St. Johnsbury Ram. So that's 90. So I'm going to break this down a little bit. The total bid was $95,670 with the plow. And they offered us, both dealerships offered us $35,000 for a trade-in for our current truck with plow. And so net cost is $60,670 from St. Johnsbury Ram. And that is the vehicle the administration is recommending the board accept.
Further discussion? Are you seeing none? All those in favor of this maintenance truck replacement, say aye.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Those abstaining?
That's it. Thank you very much.
So I am going to ask for a motion to go into executive session under the following: confidential attorney-client communications made for the purpose of providing professional legal services to the body.
Motion.
The board and administration. I don't know if there's anyone actually left. It's not.
Favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
Can I speak?
Okay.
Okay. A board member who had really good foresight into the name change for the English learners, so we would be putting that one off anyway. But at the next board meeting, we will break into groups and spend literally 10 minutes on the second reading and convey to the bigger board the content of the policies in broad strokes. There are 3 first readings and
The first is proficiency-based graduation requirements. This is from the DSBA. It is a required policy. It is there was a proficiency-based graduation requirement policy before. This is a more succinct version of that and doesn't go into every detail about what proficiency-based learning is, and just keeps it more streamlined. We certify in it that we do use credits and that students can receive credit for learning in experiences such as early college. And so there's that. You can look at that and ask questions for next time. The second is also from the VSBA and is a required policy. It is a new policy on the selection of library materials. It outlines the fact that we will have a procedure in place for that. You can read that and see if you have questions for next time. That's brand new. And then the last is the Title I Part A, Parent and Family Engagement. This is also from the VSBA. It is also required. It is almost exactly the same as our previous policy. We have removed specific years and put current year so that it is always current, even if we are not reevaluating it in that year. Procedures were taken out, and those don't need to be board approved. The Title 1A procedures that just outline how this work is done. And so you can read that. Have questions for next time.
Sorry?
D1, that policy first reading, was that emailed?
Oh, the D1, the proficiency-based graduation requirements. I thought so, but I'll check.
Sure.
A couple of things. The Agency of Education had asked individual districts to certify our compliance with what we always have complied with, and that is the Civil Rights Act of 1964, which very simply states that we do not discriminate. However, there was language in the attestation form that was tied to the federal government's interpretation of the civil rights. I think the interpretation is undergoing some changes. And so individual districts pushed back and said, we're not going to do this. We've never been asked to do it before. The Agency of Education has always responded on our behalf. So today, the agency did respond for the state, as they do every single year. And Secretary Saunders asked us to share the following. Vermont's response does not reference or adopt any federal executive orders or guidance documents. Does not say that diversity, equity, and inclusion work is illegal. Does not direct Vermont schools to change practices related to diversity, equity, and inclusion. Does not require individual responses from superintendents. Does reaffirm a strong commitment to protecting students from discrimination. Does support the continuation of diversity, equity, and inclusion practices in Vermont schools. So that was their attestation. on our behalf. Art alluded to this, as did Eric. 454 passed over to the Senate last week. It's a messy bill. There are some really good pieces to it, and much of it is very similar to some of the tenets of our Rural Schools Community Alliance. Some things need to change. For example, there are considerations for geography as exceptions to school closures. What are those? They are not neatly defined, so they need to be. They need to look at student engagement patterns, trends, how far would a student have to travel, what else exists in the community that might be something to nurture the community other than the schools. You know, we have a school of 9 students in Southern Vermont, and it's 3 minutes from the next elementary school. That's a very different situation than what we have here. Class size minimums, there need to be more clearly defined exceptions to that, because there are exceptions to geographical necessity for smaller class sizes, but it doesn't say much about how that protection would work. So that needs to be woven in. The 4,000 student district size, frankly, that was suggested to come up with something tangible for the governor to read. If the House had not come up with something that was somewhat meaty, we would be in a more potentially dire place. I think the governor thought that nothing would come across. Did not think this would happen, and offered a press release shortly after the passage of 454 that says, "This bill is nowhere near perfect due to the cost, timeline, and more. However, we all agree that education transformation is needed in this session in order to accomplish that. The passage of this imperfect bill by the House, so it can move to the Senate, is an important procedural step toward achieving that goal. To be clear, there are many changes needed to earn final support of many legislators as well as my signature, and we will continue to make our case as this process moves through the legislative process." We need to be very careful not to engage in infighting with other groups that are vying for, understandably, important traction in this, because it will be very easy for the governor to just say, "Okay, you're not doing the work, you're fighting each other, we're going back to our 5 districts." And that has been conveyed to the VSA, to the VSBA, to the VPA, to all the Vs. And that concerns me. So I just encourage us to be mindful of our language moving forward, and to know that we will do what we can to support everything that we can to support our students. This isn't an adult agenda. This is about our students. Thoughts? I know you have thoughts. You want to do your other business?
I just had a few things. First, I thought we could just do a quick CO update. It looks like we'll be moving in on the 29th and 30th. 28th, 29th, okay. Which is great. We're all very excited. I forwarded today a letter from the Belvedere Select Board requesting sort of an extension of the timeline and some other considerations. I'll bring that to you as an agenda item next month. And then an email was forwarded to me from the ECS parent group Gmail account. And it just concerned me, so I talked with, and I think many of you, if not all of you, received it. It was sent to Dylan, included the Lamoille Restorative Center, a couple people, some employees and the board. So I just talked with Dylan to sort of get a timeline and a sense. So in November, Dylan explained to the Eden parent group why the bottle bin was removed. This is all about a bottle collection bin that was stationed at Eden, citing safety concerns and other concerns. The bin was overflowing onto the ground. It included trash that was being left at the site. There were broken bottles and trash blowing around the site located at the entrance to the school. Several requests had been made verbally to the parent group throughout the summer and early fall to have it cleaned up and the contents basically returned so they could get their money. When the above requests were not responded to, the school custodian made several trips to return bottles and clean up the mess. The cost for this was borne by the school district for hours and mileage, and it turned out to be more than what was raised by the bottle deposits in the first place. And then finally, you know, having bottles, cans, and other trash sort of sitting around for extended periods of time invites unwanted pests. Also on November 26th, Dylan offered to meet with the group to discuss, should they wish to put the bin back at the school, a better location for the bin, as well as expectations and responsibilities of all parties, such as frequent pickups and what the school district would be responsible. In December, the parent group replied asking about facilities responsibilities in such issues and for details regarding the school's prior request for picking up the area. Also noting, unfortunately incorrectly, that they believe the principals act as committee facilitators and therefore was responsible to coordinate, facilitate, and delegate management of responsibility of the bin. Dylan then replied on December 3rd, I'm sorry, I know this is tedious, but Dylan replied on December 3rd that it is understood that parents are always the facilitators of fundraising, never the principal. Verbal requests had been made by the school maintenance quarter to one of the fundraising members. I have that information. The school custodian at the school's expense moved the trash from the site and returned bottles 3 times over the summer to keep the area clean. And then ultimately the bin was removed by basically Dylan for safety reasons. There was nothing after that. And then out of the blue today, an email raising concerns about treating schools differently within the district with partiality in providing access to school site-based bottle drive bins. It mentioned another school. First, it's important to understand there's only one other school in the district that has a collection bin, and that's Waterville. All other schools or parent groups have collection sites in the communities, but not at the schools. The Waterville bin is sort of discreetly tucked into that side parking lot. It's not easily visible from the road. You can see it when you're coming one direction, but not the other direction. They had large drops of bottles recently, but by today, the overflow had been cleared away, along with a chair that was mentioned in the email that had been left as trash, I guess, by somebody. So someone, presumably the fundraising group, stepped in and took the bottles and got them exchanged and got their funds. Again, you know, facilities has always really worked hard to accommodate community requests. And it's just unfortunate that I don't know who is behind the Eden Parent Group email. It's just unfortunate that somewhere communication has broken down and collaboration has broken down. And I just wanted out in the minutes that if the group would like to come to facilities and work with Dylan, we can certainly talk about putting it back and get an understanding of when it needs to be picked up, who the contact person is, and et cetera. We're happy to work with you.
And you have extended that invitation?
Yes.
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 You know, and honestly, it was approved to be placed through Betsy. And then there was no other communication, so it just showed up one day. And we did our best for about a year to try to accommodate it, and it just didn't work out. And so, yeah, I mean, we did send a pretty clear email saying these are the expectations. We'd love to work with you and move forward, and yeah, we never move forward.
I think it's important to note, again, facilities does not play favoritism with the schools and the buildings. Limited resources means sometimes certain issues are handled immediately. Sometimes we have the resources to take our time to try to sort it out. But when we can't sort it out, school safety and sanitary conditions kind of take priority. That's where we're at with this. Thank you. David?
I'll just offer that, like once or twice a year, we do a bin shows up for like a week. People drop off cans and then the bin and the cans goes away. And then I don't actually know whose bin it is. It's obviously some community members, but like, it's a way that it's not an ongoing problem. It's just once or twice there's a week that we'd advertise to the families, hey, bring in bottles and cans, and it's very time limited. And that seems to work pretty well. We raised some money. There's no mess afterwards, and it's like not an all year long issue.
The last time I was down at your place, they just brought the trailer right in.
Yeah, there was a trailer just in our school. Yeah.
And drove the trailer out.
And it, you know, it's not unique to Eden. I know my town, Glover, at the Glover School, it was in the parking lot and it was overflowing. Now it makes a lot of money. It's thousands of deposits, but it is a school and you can't really have garbage bags of bottles and people drop their garbage there. And
Yeah,
Well, those cans and bottles are liquor bottles. And
some of the ones
and
rolling
beer
in.
cans and, yeah.
I would like to give a plug to Waterville though, is that I've seen it in my 11 years of working here. I think I've seen it twice where it's overflowing, and whoever manages that, because I know it's not the school, does an excellent job. And usually, like, it's just a quick surge of bottles that somebody brings on a Thursday, Friday or something like that. But it seems like every weekend somebody's going to pick it up.
It's been a pretty good system, and we usually know which parent is sort of the head of that. And if it does kind of get a little bit out of control, Steph will just give a ring, and they're usually pretty responsive, really respectful since I've and it does really good.
Any other business? Sure.
I just wanted to say that I had the privilege of seeing a wonderful middle school play this weekend. And that was really the highlight of the weekend. It was Alice in Wonderland. And I don't want to actually name any names because I didn't talk to people first. But we've got some board members with children. We have just a huge number of very talented, confident, just angelic voiced children.
Yeah, I would add the time and the care and the commitment from folks, Danielle Everell, John Moten, all the folks who worked on this. I've just been really impressed with these two productions this year, and it was a great crowd Friday night. I'm sure it sounds like a big audiences Thursday and Saturday as well. It's great to see the community support this stuff. And it was high quality. This is a good middle school show. So thank you all for supporting.
I'm looking forward to it being on the digital screen because I knew nothing about it.
We also had several Jam Tones vocalists who auditioned to be in the district's music festival in Newport. They were up in Newport last Friday, and not last, but the previous Friday and Saturday. And then they always put on the Newport Music Festival concert, which is online on their Facebook site if you want to see them. And we usually have band members that can audition and go to. I don't know of any band members this year, but we had probably, I think, 7 or 8 of the Jam Tones.
And we have incredible opportunities, like your daughter and music groups in Ireland singing from the most beautiful, beautiful church.
And we're gonna do
Dylan.
any shout outs also.
Yeah.
Eric Hutchins, who is here speaking tonight, he runs our chess club.
That's right.
And for the 4th year in a row, won the state championship, which is so cool. And I got to go. We hosted it and I was blown away. There were like over 200 kids just like competing. And it was like intense and exciting.
Chess is a great live.
Parents were
sport.
in the auditorium like watching
It
the
is.
live results. I was like, whoa, it's awesome.
March 28th, 2026, the Moyle Union is now the chess tournament site for Vermont. So we've picked up that mantle, so I think it's gonna be here every year now.
People love the facilities here. Like they were blown away by it. And they just kept saying, this is such a beautiful place. And it was really nice.
And I wanted to say something about the tech center. They have 175 applications. That is the largest number of students they've had apply in 10 years. And Sully, what would you want to tell us about Sully, Dylan?
So there was 3 students who placed gold in skills. One was electrical wiring, I think it was HVAC, and then 1 computer networking technologies. My son was the one who got gold in electrical. So they'll compete nationally now. He scored like a 988 out of 1,000. So he's pretty excited. Yeah.
It's nice to end on something positive when there are so many things that are not. So let's remember the positives, please.
Jen.
Okay.
Jen. All right. So you plan on-
You're right, let's see, Jen, raise your hand.
Yeah.
Muted.
You're muted.
Sorry about that. I'm always finding out about these great theater productions and musical things after they've happened. Is there some way that board members could find out ahead of time? I'm not quite sure what would be the easiest and least expensive way to do that. But is there a way?
I would say in my newsletters, like at the high school, I put in all of the dates.
Board theater newsletters.
But I always link mine in my reports, but that's usually after I wrote them. So I have every event from now until the end of the school year on the calendar in the last one. But I wonder if we could just send them out.
So they're also
Letters are the best way.
on the district-wide calendar. All the events are listed there.
Okay.
And then we do put out stuff on Facebook.
Maybe a link to the district-wide calendar sent to the board.
Proficiency-based graduation requirements D1 was emailed out April 9th in the big email of all of this there from Michelle Amano.
There's no other business. We have the motion to adjourn. Good night, all.